Morning and welcome to the ZMC Business Hour. Great to have you here this morning. Technical issue, sorry about that, my apologies. So great to have you here this morning. The ZMC Business Hour, a business show run by the ZMC Network in an effort to connect communities. It's the third day of Eid and a lot of you will be celebrating Eid today. We would just like to, from the whole team, wish you a wholehearted Eid Mubarak. We're hoping you are safe, we are hoping you are well. The ZMC Business Show, we bring you the very best in local business leaders who come and share their expertise, their skills and their knowledge. Today we have some amazing guests who work with a fantastic organisation. As you will all know, the world is actually currently hit by a pandemic. The global economy is nearing collapse. And as the UK comes out of lockdown, job security is a massive, massive issue. Where will industry be in 6 months' time? We have no idea. We will still be in a job in 6 months' time. We have no idea. Rishi Sunak in July announced a 30 billion spending package in an attempt to help employers retain their employees and also encourage employers to take on apprenticeships and upskill our youth. It was a great initiative and an attempt to somehow secure the British economy. So our guests this morning are from that sector and they work with apprenticeships and they work within the sector of upskilling your staff. So can I please introduce our guests this morning? Aisha and Esther. Can you just tell the audience, our viewers, a bit about what you do?
Okay, myself, a bit about my background. I've been in this industry for just over 15 years. I started working in employment and skills. I then progressed working in a private sector, moving from private sector to public sector. I've also worked with third sector and now I'm in the skills and training industry. So I've worked with different communities, different age groups, different contracts, people with vulnerabilities. So it's a very rewarding industry and it's one where we feel that communities, local organisations, businesses need to know a lot about and take advantage of the support and offer that's available to them.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Aisha. I have been in the training sector probably for, again, like Aisha, about 15, 18 years. I came into it through a retail background initially, where I worked in their learning and development and training department, and then came across to work for training providers. So again, I've had lots of experience working with different sectors, different groups of people, but very much at the heart of what I've always been doing is about identifying individuals where we can support and upskill them. And I came to work with the employer I'm working with now, that we're going to talk to you a little bit about, for about 10 years ago, and very much as an engagement position, very much engaging with local people, local communities, looking at how we can support and upskill them and give them better skills to help them move forward with opportunities that they can access.
Fantastic. So with the current climate, with COVID and coming out of COVID, what trend are you currently seeing with your employers in terms of staff retention? Where are the areas where they actually needing help at the moment?
COVID has been a completely different world, something that nobody ever planned for.
Yes.
So what we have to look at is it's new to everybody. We're all learning as we go along. As it stands, our employers, I mean, you may be aware, over 243,000 SMEs have been affected, which has resulted in over 600,000 people being made redundant, or they've lost jobs, or they've gone into furlough, and there's no certainty whether they'll be coming back or not. It's not just impacting sectors per se, it's affecting small businesses where there's that uncertainty as to how they will retain themselves moving forward. So once as the lockdown is easing and they're opening their businesses, is there enough footfall coming through the doors? Is there enough manufacturing? And even when the manufacturing, they're bringing goods from abroad, how much it's costing? Can they sustain themselves? So the importance here is looking forward as to how we can manage this and control this. So moving forward, employers, employees feel that there's a sustainability, and that can only be done through enhancing people's skills so they can take on multiple roles. So as a business they can grow and they can strengthen again. The economy, UK's economy has had a 10.2% hit, which at the end of next year will still be economically nowhere near where we want to be. And in order for the economy to grow, it's now imperative that employers and organisations start supporting individuals to feel valued, to feel that this uncertainty has happened, but we can move forward, we can rebuild ourselves, and the only way we're going to do that is upskilling our staff and building that strength in organisations.
When you talk about upskilling, what sort of upskilling do you do for staff, or what sort of upskilling is available for example, in the retail sector? What sort of upskilling would be available there?
So there's lots of opportunities. It might be that an employer's looking and thinking, right, okay, maybe I've got to adjust the way that I operate in my business. Maybe I need more people customer facing or less people customer facing. Maybe I need more people that have got digital skills. So we talk about upskilling, but it's really about an employer thinking, right, okay, how am I going to make my business survive? What do I need to do? What adjustments do I need to make? And are the people that I've got currently working for me, do they have those skills that I need? Do they have the abilities to do the jobs that I want them to do? And he might say, well, maybe I need someone to have some further digital training or IT skill training. Maybe they need more customer service, customer skill facing. Maybe they need more confidence. Maybe they need more retail knowledge. Maybe he wants to put them into groups, and maybe people need more managerial skills, how they deal with difficult situations, and all of those opportunities or ideas that they see as things that they need support with. There's lots of qualifications available, accredited qualifications that will allow us to support their workforce, give them the knowledge and skills and training on the ground, in the sector that they're working in the building, customer facing environment, whatever that might be, to actually be able to think, right, okay, yeah, I can do that, I can develop, I can learn something new. But more than that, they can help the business that they're working in survive through this pandemic and get more business coming back in, because those are the people that are working together to drive that forward.
But do you not feel that employers that are going through a survival patch at the moment, because it's about surviving, a few businesses are growing, but the majority are just in survival mode, have they got the time and the resource and the funding to allow their staff to go on such training courses, or you know, how does that work? How much does it cost them, and what's the time commitment?
This is how we have to look at every business. Every business starts somewhere and grows, and you only grow when you invest, and whether that's time, money, manpower. Without investment, there is no growth. So how an employer has to look at this right now: what we offer doesn't cost them anything. It's all ESF funded money, or it's local government money. Our funding is through ESF, ESFA, adult education budget. So all an employer has to invest right now is time. And yes, time is absolutely crucial, but we're in a current situation which, in a bad situation, is a good situation, because staff are working from home, they are furloughed, or they're not given the hours they need to practically, physically be in an organisation.
Somebody who's furloughed, can they take up your service?
Absolutely, because they're still employed.
Okay.
Because they're still employed by an employer, and they can take up our services and support. And in fact, it's a great time to upskill yourself whilst you've got that time. The other thing we also need to look at, the way the industries are moving, even retail, customer service, a lot of it has become digital.
Yes.
So even when you're doing your shopping, it's online. If you call your utility company, people are working from home.
Yes.
So that those sort of digital skills that are required, this is where people like ourselves, partners that we work with, can support with that upskilling. And the question about business sustainability, unless we prepare now for that sort of sustainability, it's too late once all the lockdowns completely finish and we're back in our offices, back in our environment, because it'll be every business fighting for the same customers.
Yeah. So these are the benefits for the employers, obviously upskilling their staff and giving them more knowledge. What's the actual benefits for the individual themselves, the employee as such?
Okay, first of all, for the employer, it's to value their staff. It's making them feel like valued team members and not just numbers that work within an organisation. For an employee, it's about not just sustainability in the organisation that they work for. There is no certainty that they might go back and they have a role in that organisation. So let's say, for example, somebody is working in retail and they're a retail assistant, but they've got a lot of transferable skills. So they may want to then move on and do some admin, call centre work. How do they do that? They may not have this experience, but they have the transferable skills. This is where we can come in and upskill with their literacy, their numeracy, their IT skills, looking at enhancing their skills in team leading, management. So for learners, what they need to look at is how do they help themselves grow. If they can't work in one industry, they can work in another. Even if they work in the same industry for the same employer, if the employer has to downsize, can one employee support with multiple roles? And how can they do that? Is by upskilling.
And are you finding that as a trend now? Are you finding these changes happening currently right now within any sectors?
We're seeing a lot of this happen in a lot of organisations. Some of the organisations who we're working with a company in Worcester at the moment who want to upskill their operatives to do more, take on more managerial roles. They want their staff to take. They want their staff to undergo customer service qualifications. So what they can do is not just the operative roles, but they can support across the business. We're finding organisations where they feel that they need to grow as a business, they need to enhance the business, and they need more management rather than recruiting management. Recruitment on average can cost £5,000 a person from start to recruiting to training. Why do that when they can have access free training, accredited training from organisations like ourselves, and they can utilise their own manpower, and that manpower, individuals who feel valued by that organisation, plus they've got that loyalty and they understand that business, it makes more sense for them to support those individuals and bring in new people.
And also, if you've been invested in as an individual, you do feel like that company really cares about you, that you feel supported, you feel valued, and that in itself very often leads to a reduction in retention. You know, people don't want to leave because they know that their employer valued them and their skills and could see the potential in them because they were prepared to develop them, identified their skills, developed their training. So you do see that employers that do that, they do see a reduction in, you know, staff turnover because they do feel pleased.
Some research on your sector and I came across a Richard Branson quote. Clients do not come first, it's the employees, and if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients. So if you look at the pattern of the big corps, they've invested in their staff and they've invested in their people, and their people have then gone on and created the brands and created the business and created, you know, and made the businesses successful. So it is very, very important. So when our Chancellor announced his spending spree back in July, in an attempt to kind of build confidence within the economy and give the employers some sort of hope and confidence, how does your organisation, or how do you fit into that structure, and where can you support the employers currently?
I think we've also benefited from the support that the Chancellor's given, because our own business is a small business, so we've benefited from the COVID support ourselves. So we do understand what it's like for all small businesses out there. It's difficult, it's challenging. So what we've looked to do is really sort of focus on those sectors that, you know, we've talked about that have been affected, and lots of our employers initially in the early days of lockdown were massively affected by the changes that were put into place. You know, everybody in this country felt those changes, and a number of our employers, it meant that they weren't able to work with us initially because their learners, their staff, what were our learners, weren't able to do what we would normally have normally been doing with them. We couldn't do the training, we couldn't do the development. So what we've looked to do is looked at how we can move the way that we operate. We've looked at how we can use more digital, more remote training.
That's the whole world now. We've gone to a world of Zoom and Teams and Skype.
Who knew such things as Zoom and Skype? And lots of our employers, you know, we weren't doing Zoom training, Teams training, but actually it's made us reevaluate. Right, okay, we can still do this. We just need to think outside the box. We need a slightly different mindset to how we're going to do it. And, you know, we have been able to develop our platforms, our learning platforms. We've got learners that, you know, didn't have those kind of facilities. So we've been able to support some of the hardest to help learners. You know, we've sent them out tablets so that they can still access remote learning with us. You know, it is very much about, right, okay, yes, this is a problem. There's been a range of measures put in to support businesses and help that, and we've looked at, right, okay, what else can we do? So we've developed our online learning platforms, we've looked at how we can manage resources differently, but very much looked at how we can still support those businesses and individuals to still continue to gain those qualifications, so they've still got those transferable skills, so that come sort of 3-6 months down the line, if the business, unfortunately, they were in doesn't survive or their role has changed, they can maybe adapt in that business, or they can adapt to another business. And again, we will work with them because we're involved with that person as an individual. So if they say to us, oh, you know, what other things have you got? I'm looking for another role. You know, we've got referral partners that we work with. So again, it might be a case of signposting somebody to something else, or sort of looking to another referral partner to say, right, how can you help these people?
So if an employee becomes redundant and is on your training program, and during the process of that they become redundant, because we don't know how businesses are going to sustain themselves, you can still offer them support after they've been made jobless.
Absolutely.
From that employer.
We offer several different types of provisions and programs, but just to touch quickly on what Hester said about taking utilising the benefits of the government fund. One thing that we did, the grant that we got, we utilised those funds to recruit more resources. So we want to give back into the community as well as, you know, take benefit from what's available. So we've recruited 3 new staff, all 3 who were at risk of redundancy or have been made redundant, to help us fulfil our social responsibility towards our communities, the regions that we work with, to support employers. So sorry, back to what you were asking about, how we support people who are redundant. So we run something called SSR, Skills Support for the Redundant. So that's supporting people who are either at risk of redundancy or have been made redundant and have been made redundant within 3 months. So if they're of the age of 16 and over, and they've got the right to recourse to work in the UK, we will go into an employer or meet with those individuals and support them, upskill them when necessary, look at their transferable skills, look at their aspirations, marry them up, put the right package together, and they'll then help them find sustainable employment. So what we offer through our different programs is very bespoke. So it's not one size fits all. It's what fits each individual, what fits each business.
Okay, so you mentioned SSR. There's something called the SSU.
Yeah, so SSR is for the redundant, and SSU is skill support for the unemployed. So anybody who's unemployed, it's a very, very similar sort of provision where we will identify the support they need through holistic support. So it could be something along the lines, they need upskilling they need support with their CV, cover letter, mock interviews, confidence building.
That can be quite a challenge, building a CV, particularly somebody who's had a job for the last 10-15 years, you know, comfortable in their career, and suddenly they've been made redundant.
Yeah, maybe they haven't done an interview for years and have not needed to look at their CV.
I was asked to write a CV about 6 months ago, and I thought, oh my God, how do I do that? So that can be pretty challenging. So you offer support there where where individuals have been working for a long time and they haven't got a CV.
And suddenly they've got to do an interview. You know, you're suddenly faced with those, what kind of questions are they going to ask me? We can do mock interviews, we can do some sort of best practice kind of ideas, getting them to really sort of think about what's somebody going to ask you? What are you trying to show off? What are your transferable skills?
Right.
Because suddenly people are going, oh, I can't do this, I haven't got those skills. And actually you have, you just need to think about, well, okay, how could you fulfil that role? What skills have you got? And then how can we give examples and help them work with things that they've done so they can really showcase their skills? Because people very much, we're all very easy, well, I can't do that, you know. Nobody ever wants to shout about their, you know, their achievements, do they? You know, and it is encouraging people to see themselves in a different light, to think about what they can do and believe in themselves, because, you know, that sort of strength and that resilience, you know, suddenly when you're made redundant, especially if it's unexpected or, you know, you've not been in that position before, it can really knock your confidence. And you suddenly, you know, feel like you're floundering in a world where you don't perhaps know where to look, you don't know where to look for vacancies, you're not sure the best way to write a cover letter, fill in your skills and showcase.
And that is make or break in many cases. The cover letter is possibly sometimes more important than the CV. And these are really important skills that, you know, people may but will be needing. And so in the same context, what's the SSW?
SSW is
because
skills.
There's too many
letters. Yes.
So that's skills support for the workforce. So this is where we will speak to different employers, identify their gaps, strengths, weaknesses, and look at where we can support them. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got an employer in Worcester. They want to grow as an organisation. They're a small organisation, and to financially go out and recruit new management, team leaders, it's a huge expense. And in this climate, people can't afford that.
Expense and time consuming.
Very, very, very much. So this is where, as an SSW providers, we will go in and identify those gaps and say, well, if you've got somebody working for your organisation and they can be upskilled to take on a team leader role, a management role, we can offer that. We can offer that qualification. We do accredited qualifications, which are recognised. The other thing me and Hester were actually talking about earlier, we've been in a world where experience has gone a long way. We've come into a world now, you can apply for a job and they'll say, have you got an ILM? Have you got Prince 2? Do you understand the techniques of project management, contract management? Do you have the best business techniques? So this is where we're putting the meat on the bones. We're helping you get that qualification. You've got the skills already, the knowledge already, or you've got the transferable skills, but you've got a qualification that lasts for life. And knowledge is power.
Personal qualification as well.
They're personal qualifications, they're formal accredited qualifications, they're recognised qualifications that different employers are aware of, and they go with that employee. They're not linked to your employer, they're your qualifications. But it means that somebody externally has assessed that you are occupationally competent, and you can prove that.
Are you ever too old to have a qualification?
Never ever. We've got learners that are 19, we have got learners that have come and worked with us at 60.
Speaking from an Asian perspective, and our viewers are predominantly Asian, we do have this notion that I'm too old to learn, or I'm too old to have a qualification.
Definitely not. If there is, and sometimes it's about, you think, oh, I don't need those skills. And if an employer said, well, I need, you know, we always said, well, talk to us about what it is that you need. Let's have a conversation about what it is that you're looking to achieve. And then we'll look at what qualifications are available that will help meet that need. So it's not a one size qualification fits all. It's let's look at the opportunities, let's look at what's bespoke for your business. What do you need? What do you want to develop and grow your business? And if it's your younger or older or middle-aged workforce, whatever that might be, what does that person need? What will that individual benefit from that will help you overall to grow? And if you're older, coming back into education or doing something for the first time, we absolutely know that that's daunting. You know, there is nothing worse. We've had lots of people over the years coming, oh, I haven't done anything since I left school. Oh, I can't possibly do that. But, you know, our tutors and trainers will provide that confidence, we'll work with them, it'll be at their pace, and you know, and if things need to be a little bit slower and they need to take a bit more time, that's absolutely fine. It isn't a, you know, oh, you've got to finish it this quickly. If if you need a bit more time and
Well,
you
I
need
mean,
a bit more one-to-one support.
Times have changed now, and we are in the 21st century. And I've done a lot of research into your sector because it's a sector that I'm totally alien to, and I came across another phrase, so you'll have to excuse me for my phrases this morning. But the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but the ones who cannot learn, unlearn, and then relearn.
Absolutely.
How relevant is that?
Very, very relevant. Back to what you said earlier, are you too old to learn? It's like saying, are you too old to dream? Are you too old to want to have a better life? Because if the answer is no to any one of those questions, then you're never too old to learn, because knowledge is something you learn every single day of your life. And you never learn or unlearn, you always learn again. There's always something. Nothing stays the same.
You're just adding to your arsenal, really.
Absolutely.
Every
You just
day's a school
strengthen,
day,
yeah.
as they often say.
You're just strengthening your knowledge, your transferable skills. So anybody out there who wants to learn, I would never say don't let age be a factor that holds you back, or even learning difficulties and disabilities, because there are always tools
Do you
and
feel
measures.
sometimes pride may take over?
I don't think it's pride. It's that uncertainty of the unknown, when you don't know something and you feel quite apprehensive. How's
Or a
that
bit
going to look?
embarrassed
Yeah.
that, you know, somebody will see you're exposed almost. The
yes,
fact that
vulnerable.
you don't, and sometimes people do feel that vulnerability. They don't want to. Maybe it is
So
a bit of
how
pride.
would you-
Don't want people to know that they
how
don't
would you
know.
advise them to kind of overcome that? Because at the end of this, you're going to get a qualification, you're going to get a diploma, you're going to get, you know, a something for yourself. But that initial embarrassment and that vulnerability, which I can appreciate, how could people overcome that? And because I think the hardest thing probably is to engage with yourself initially, because they're shy, they're embarrassed, and then once they've spoken to you, and you go through the process with them, that could be more daunting for them. So how would they overcome that, and how have you dealt with that previously?
I think this is where they have to take that first step, and we encourage everybody to take that first step, because our communication is one-to-one. So we will speak to people one-to-one, do a diagnostic one-to-one to identify the level of support they need, the pace they need to work at, and we don't expect people to run before they can walk. So it will be, if they want to do a qualification and they need the support with their literacy, their numeracy, basic skills, from entry level moving on to level 1, 2, 3, we'll make a bespoke package that will suit them, suit their learning needs. What we also have to, what we'll also always do, at the end of the day, for us, what's important is a learner and a business and their growth. So if there's something we can't offer, we will look at how we can put that package together through working with other partnerships. We will work with other partners to support individuals. The initial step is not to be scared, not to be afraid. Come speak to us.
Okay. What sectors do you support? Is it across the board, or are certain sectors in more need than others?
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. I don't think it's so much. I mean, we do training. We've worked in logistics, in warehousing, in manufacturing, in engineering. We've worked with companies to support their managers at all levels throughout the business. We've looked to work with employers across a whole range of sectors: hospitality, security, some bits of tourism. So if there is an employee with a skills shortage, we have the ability through a range of programs to be able to work with them. So whether that's young people, we've got a program that we work with that to drive people that are the young people that have perhaps dropped out of education and training.
Okay.
So
We're
another
going to
name.
go on to apprenticeships shortly, because that's
I was going to say NEETs.
Yeah.
So these are our not in education. Another of those names, not in education and training. So again, it's across a whole range of sectors. I don't think I've missed any.
No, not at all.
Out.
One of the things that we have to look at is the trends change really quickly.
Yes.
Before COVID, construction was massive for us, HS2 and all the infrastructure. That slowly is coming to, well, it hasn't come to a whole, but it's slowed down a little bit. For us then it's retail. Retail shops are closed, they're going to reopen, they're going to need staff, they're going to bring new staff on board. So all those customer service skills then around, when you look at all the football matches that have been stopped, they'll start slowly starting again, the theatres will start opening again. Then you have to look at security, and security that it's a massive industry. Security can be stewarding, ushering.
Yeah.
So that industry is starting to reopen, so that's growing. And we're working with an organisation at the moment who are putting 70 of their employees through spec
safety.
Yeah, spec safety.
And obviously we've got the Commonwealth Games coming.
Yes.
So again, there's going to be a...
Yes.
We believe these are going to happen.
You say trends are changing, but you not also feel that learning is changing as well, that we're like learning on demand, and we're effectively learning something an hour before, and we're putting it into practice almost immediately. With your learning and with your teaching and with your training, is that all implemented? Because learning has, the way we learn and the way we take information on board has changed now drastically, and then with COVID it's had to change more, and we've had to learn some skills that we never thought we would ever need, and then we need to implement that straight away. It's not like I can learn it today and then it's a degree or a qualification and I can use it whenever. We need to implement it immediately.
And a lot of our learning is implemented straight away because it's what learners need today, tomorrow, to do their job. So it is about them putting it into practice. Some of the learning is demonstrated through them putting it into practice, working with our trainers and assessors for them to demonstrate those practical skills. So it's not all about classroom-based learning. Some of these skills are demonstrated through doing practical things. So Aisha's just mentioned about the spectator safety, but some of the understanding of their occupational competence to show that they can actually do the job is very much about our assessors seeing them doing it in practice. So it's very much about some of it, you've got the theory, you've got the knowledge, but let's see you put it into practice so that you can demonstrate to us that you've got it to gain the qualification, but also demonstrate to your employers, and that gives you confidence because you're applying that knowledge straight away. So what you've learned, you're putting it into practice, you're knowing that it's real, you're knowing that it works, we can see that it works, and the employers are seeing those skills then being built on, and as they build and grow their businesses, but also their employees get more confident with, I've learnt that and I've actually put it into practice, and they remember it because they've practiced it, so they retain it.
And the beauty of the new learning is because it's new to everybody, we're learning together, and the pace is manageable, nobody's running ahead of the game, so it actually instills that confidence in people that it's new and there are trial and errors and people are learning together.
So another abbreviation I came across was AEB.
AEB is actually the funding provider, the adult education budgets. The contract we've got funded by AEB is through the West Midlands Combined Authority, and we deliver something called an innovation program, which is helping people who are either homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, and the program covers a vast ground of support, so anything from finding housing, advice on benefits, completing application forms, helping people with their health and well-being, helping them support with their mental ability, or if they are suffering from stress or anxiety because they don't know what to do, we will advise them, we'll guide them. Through that, we help support identify their strengths and weaknesses, areas of development, for example, their transferable skills, what they've done, what they can do, and we then help them build on that. So it's taking the foundation and building on that to then get them to their end goal, which is into sustainable employment.
Okay, now the hot topic, apprenticeships.
So we have probably been, it's one of the mainstays probably of our business. We've always delivered apprenticeships. There has been a huge change to the way apprenticeships were delivered with the introduction of the apprenticeship levy for employers a few years ago. But we deliver apprenticeships across a range of subjects. So you've got management apprenticeships, we deliver them in food operatives, we deliver warehouse, business administration, customer service, business improvement techniques, so looking at efficiencies within the workplace. So we deliver a whole range of apprenticeships. And again, we work with both local employers and national employers and support their learners, whether that be pre-COVID face-to-face classroom-based learning, or remote learning, and we were doing remote learning with our apprenticeships pre-COVID as well as sort of through COVID. But apprenticeships very much have changed with the introduction of the levy and the new standards, very much being employer-led as well. What are you looking as an employer for your learner to gain, having invested that
very important, isn't it?
time?
Because apprenticeships gives you the opportunity to have that experience rather than just the academic qualification. I had in fact, my first program, I had a chap from who runs an apprenticeship organisation, and we spoke in great detail about this. How important do you feel apprenticeships are, particularly now after COVID? Qualifications, we all know, are very important, and again, speaking from an Asian perspective, we are conditioned to go to university, get a degree, get a master's, get a PhD, get all the qualifications, and all the letters next to our name, all the abbreviations. But sometimes we don't have the experience. And I know a lot of people who are very highly qualified but can't hold a job down because they haven't got that actual office experience or the workplace experience. So how important would you say apprenticeships are, and then particularly now coming out of COVID, how important will they be?
I think they are vitally important. Apprenticeships are very much a new way of learning to a lot of people. Like you say, people see learning in the traditional style going through those academic establishments. An apprenticeship is an opportunity for you to learn those skills, those qualifications, while at the same time putting it into practice. We talked about that earlier, about that learning straight away, putting it into practice, doing that job straight away. So apprenticeships are vital. They're about what the employer needs in those skills, as well as the academic, being brought together in the workplace. So you're working day to day. More importantly, you're able to earn as you learn. Yeah. So it's very much about you being able to earn a salary, developing the workforce, but also know that you've actually got that job. So you're developing, you're growing across that qualification, which often can take between 12 months to 18 months to 2 years. So that's an employer investing in you, developing you. They're working with you, as well as the training providers working with you. So you're working almost in this three-way partnership. Yeah. The employers investing that time, the training providers coming in and developing those skills. The employee is working and learning those skills, but they're skills that they're learning day to day, drawing from what they're learning with their peers and their mentors in the workplace, so that they're very much driving into a direction that the employer needs that. And that's the reason that they've got that apprenticeship, because there's a route way for them. This is what the end goal looks like, and this apprenticeship will draw in those skills. So at the end of that, yes, you're qualified, you've got this formal accredited qualification, but you've also got a strength and depth that employer then values to go on and lead and develop in their business.
And you're also learning people skills within the workplace.
Absolutely. The other thing you also have to look at, like even what you mentioned earlier, coming out of university with a degree and somebody coming out of an apprenticeship with a degree and this experience is heaven and earth.
Yes.
When you're sitting in front of an employer, I've got this qualification but no experience, and then you come along, you've done an apprenticeship, you've got the qualification and the experience, the employers want to choose you.
Yes.
Because you're ready to go, you're ready to hit the ground. Plus also it
kind of increases your employability.
Absolutely, and the sustainability. Because I studied law, and I remember when I was at university, our lecturer once said, what you will learn through the textbooks and what you will do in practice is two different things. Yes. And it was, I did study law, I did practice law for a couple of years, I did legal cost negotiating, and it put me off completely, and I didn't pursue my career. And when in an apprenticeship, it's real life. You're not just pursuing your qualification, but you're understanding the job.
Very hands-on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think you see that more and more. There's a lot more sectors where apprenticeships are being developed, Look at sort of policing and nursing.
What about there is a notion that apprenticeships is cheap labour, or, what about that notion, and how do you overcome that?
It depends how you want to look at it. I would never say it's cheap labour, because it's not labour, it's knowledge. You're being taught knowledge and you're being paid for it. Yes. You go to university, you come out with thousands of pounds of debt, no experience, and then you go into mundane jobs which you feel, I've got a degree and I'm doing an admin job, or I'm doing a customer service job, but I've got a degree in law, or I've got a degree in IT. And it's a struggle, it's an uphill struggle, but then you go and do an apprenticeship, you're getting paid for it, you're getting the qualifications, you're getting the skills, you come out, like Hester said, you either grow with that employer or you move on, because you've already got your skill set, you've already made your career.
Academics, and you've got the fantastic. So organisations like yourself at the moment now, what are your struggles? How are you finding it easy to engage with employers, or are you finding the uptake of your services being taken up, or what are your struggles?
The struggles is what everybody's actually facing at the moment with COVID. It's impacted so many businesses and individuals. It's affected the morale. Businesses have had to close. Staff have been disbanded. So the struggle has been, it's been hard to reach out to employees because they're not there, they've closed, or they're not working from their premises. And some of our contracts dictate that we work within the regions of where the employers are.
So what regions do you cover yourself?
For SSW we cover Black Country, Staffordshire and Stoke, Worcestershire,
Coventry and Warwickshire,
Coventry,
Greater Birmingham, where we've got Tamworth, Lichfield, Cannock Chase.
It's quite a wide area.
It is. We've got Derby and Nottingham, so it's quite widespread. What we're offering is very, very widespread.
So any employers in these areas who think they need help, or even any employees, they should get in touch.
Absolutely. I don't think this should be just employer-led. So any employee who's listening to us who feels, you know what, I could do with upskilling, I could really do with getting some more qualifications, approach your employers to approach us. It's a two-way thing. Yeah. Employers and employees all need to take accountability for their self-development, for development of their employees, so they can grow, so they can support each other. On the flip side, what we are also seeing as the lockdown is easing, employers are seeing more and more benefit of what we're offering, and they are understanding that giving that bit of time to employees to go and have that support from us, take on this learning, take on these qualifications, is strengthening their workforce.
Creates a new person.
Absolutely, it's creating people who will stay within their organisations for a lot longer, and they can support the business widespread.
Maybe they want to, you know, again, if employers are sort of listening, they might think, well, actually, what could you do, or what opportunities are there for my employees? And again, you know, one of the things that we are always happy to do is discuss, you know, vocational learning, bespoke packages, what is it that they want to get out of it, and let's look at what qualifications are out there and what can we deliver that fits their needs. So it's, you know, very much, you know, we might have talked about different qualifications, but if it's something that they've not heard us mention, that doesn't mean that we can't do it, or we can't support through other referral partners of how they can access that. So we're always very keen to sort of look at developing our own qualifications and what we can offer.
Yeah.
And if we can't, then we'll, you know, always put somebody in touch with somebody that can, because there's a raft of qualifications and opportunities out there for them to tap into. And very much, you know, let's see if we can find that route way for you.
And also the beauty of what we offer is an employee and an employed isn't restricted to one qualification. They could do multiple qualifications. They could do several qualifications and non-regulated qualifications. So they could have a whole package put together for each employee.
And all these things will put on their CV when they need a CV.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So, parting words, 2 questions. Where do you see the economy and businesses in the next 3 months?
That's a really good question, considering that
right
earlier you said we might be going into a phase 2 of lockdown. I wouldn't say where...
From your experiences and from what you're seeing and the feedback you get from employers, and I mean the government's giving messages on the hour, every hour. So, but the general trend, because you're dealing with employers, employees, what do you see happening?
Let's not say what do we see happening, let's say what do we want to see happening. Every learner and every employer out there needs to prepare themselves. We don't know what the future holds, but we know what we can do to make a better future for us, for ourselves and our individuals that we work with. So take advantage of all this support and training that's available to yourselves, and start preparing for what's to come tomorrow. So, you know, God forbid if there is a phase 2 and businesses have to close down or they have to reduce staff, the staff that you've got, support them to take on multiple roles, because it will take a long time for us to rebuild ourselves, but we can only do that if we take these initial steps now. Let's not wait for 3 months. 3 months might be too late.
Yes.
But one of the things that we definitely are doing right now is we also run what's an NCS program, which is a youth program, so that's the National Citizenship Program. And their normal program across the summer for 16 and 17-year-olds would be a week of residential, about them learning resilience and then doing a social action project. Obviously COVID's had a massive impact on that. That's not been able to go out this summer as it normally would. But what they are doing, all of the delivery partners that work with NCS, their investment is to do 1 million hours of doing good. So while the young people can't do what they would normally have done this year, what they are encouraging is young people to get involved and do volunteering hours. So help to get the country back on its feet, help to work in local communities with local partners to maybe get food banks moving, help charity shops, help with businesses that are perhaps, or local charity organisations, volunteering organisations that are just starting to open their doors. So these are young people who we're engaging through different projects to get involved in their local communities, to help local people get back on their feet, things to start moving again. So yeah, we are seeing an easing of restrictions, things that are starting to move, and we've got some things involved in helping to move that forward, and hopefully we want to see that continue. And as Aisha said, you know, there's training opportunities, but there are other things that we're involved in doing as well to hopefully move things forward.
My final question, you've both answered already, but parting advice to employers and employees, particularly employees who are probably thinking about, maybe I could do with this, but are a bit scared to approach the employers, and also allow that pride and the vulnerability to get in the way of them upskilling themselves, because I'm sure there's many viewers out there who are feeling that, you know, I could do with that, I could do with that upskilling, I could do with that qualification, but I'm probably a bit older and a bit shy to to think, oh, do I really want to go through this process? Parting words for the viewers.
Parting words would be that there is nothing anybody can't achieve if they put their mind to it. So if you feel that you want to do something, it's not, can I do it, how will I do it? You can do it. And to achieve that goal, we're here to support. And like Hester has said, what we offer is bespoke. So it's not to feel embarrassed, not to feel nervous, because at the end of the day we will do what's best for each individual and we'll work with them to find what suits them best.
But very much, if you think there is something, it doesn't have to be a massive amount of help, it doesn't have to be a massive qualification. If you want to just take that first step, that first initial bit of learning, you just want to maybe dip your toe in to see whether or not...
You may find that you enjoy it, actually.
That confidence will build and will grow, and we will support that. But as I think we said earlier, it is about doing things at your pace. You know, don't feel that, you know, somebody else that you know, oh yeah, they, you know, did 10 qualifications and charged along and did all of this. That doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
It's about what works for you at your pace when you're ready. But very much have a look, you know, get in touch, look at what you could do, you know, to move yourself forward. You know, everybody is different, everybody needs different skills, you know, and even when in the past we've had groups of learners, you know, it's one of the things we've always said, everybody learns at a different pace, everybody comes with different skills. You know, you might have been working in an industry where you've not needed a qualification, but you could be working alongside somebody who's very young. But actually your mentoring skills might be brilliant, your knowledge that you can impart to somebody else, you'll have experiences that you can share with other people, and all of those are valuable. Don't discount your own value, you know, very much little steps.
Fantastic. Esther, Aisha, it's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's been very, very insightful, and hopefully the viewers took a lot away from that. So we look forward to seeing you same time and same place next week, where we'll be discussing planning regulations and properties. As we know, the government has relaxed, or is planning to relax, a lot of the building regs and a lot of the planning requirements. So next week we will be discussing properties, HMOs, and all that kind of stuff. Until then, have a great week, have a fantastic Eid, and don't forget to keep tuned in. We have a whole array of shows, political shows, faith shows, news. So keep tuned in, keep sharing our social media platforms, and look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week.